All right, real ones, you still down with your homeboy first. Still here on Put It On Some. Make sure you subscribe. It costs you nothing to hit that button. And make sure you let everybody know that you are down with the realest, most entertaining sports show in the game. And that is Put It On Some. But if y'all missed it, Jackson State defeated Tennessee State, hard fought game, 16-3 up there in what seems to be the last Southern Heritage Classic, at least for right now. But it was Coach Prime's post game comments that took some aback. Shador was being asked about the rivalry with Tennessee State and stuff like that. And Shador was trying to answer the question in typical quarterback speak. You feel me? Not trying to be controversial about anything like that. He's basically saying, hey, we're new guys, and so we don't really know a lot about it. And Coach Prime just, boom, chimed in and said, we don't care. We don't care. A good journalist did double back and asked him later on in the interview, in the press conference, for clarification on that. And Coach Prime reiterated, he was like, we don't care. But then he focused on the business of it and how the contract is bad. And we need to do better business. And he doesn't care where we play the game, long as the business is right. Because you don't want to bring those kids up there and then have to ask for gas money to get back home. But then he did double back and say, hey, but we just getting here. We don't know nothing about no rivalry. He even turned to Niles Gadd and was like, you know something about the rivalries? So when I saw that, I was like, ooh, I wonder how the OGs of this thing feel about that comment. So I had to hit up my OG. You feel me? To get some real clarification on it, try to see what the true Tigers feel about it. Those that been down even pre-prime. And so I had to hit them up. And of course, my OG held me down. I'm talking about renowned writer. You understand me? Exquisite poet. Former Jackson State professor. Prince aficionado. And Jackson State Tiger for life. That's my OG, and I proudly call him my OG. I love this guy. That's Leigh McInnis. OG.
Good sir, how you doing?
What's going on, man?
Look, it's always a good day when brothers can fellowship, and when I'm up with you, man, I just appreciate everything that you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being passionate. Keep enlightening people, and keep being multifaceted. Because I get when you say you want to be the Amazon of this thing, what people don't understand is that what you're saying is that uh, human beings are pie charts with many slices, and you want to make sure as an artist and as a scholar, and you're a scholar and historian, that you serve all of the multiple pieces of our culture's pie chart. And so keep, because look, some people don't even know they have more than two pieces of the pie chart. So you educating them on that. And so I appreciate you doing it, man. So I'm just happy to be here hanging out.
Yeah, I appreciate that, OG. Look, y'all see how he just pours into me. I just love that. All right, but got to get to the business, though, OG. I want to know what you thought about the comments. What are your classmates, fellow alums, OG Tigers? What are y'all thoughts on Coach Prime's I don't care about the TSU JSU rivalry?
So I am a second generation JSU grad. I have been, my father and his cousin attended the very first HBCU game in the vet was 1967, I believe, against Grambling. So my father has been attending Jackson State, he attended Jackson State games from 1967 to 2015 when he died. I've been attending Jackson State games since 1975. And so I understand that although Coach Sanders' statement didn't bother me, I can understand why it would bother others because especially the old school JSU folk, some people can take his statement about not caring about the rivalry between JSU and Tennessee State as him indicating that coaching at JSU is just a job and nothing more because he's not invested in the history or the culture enough to be invested in the rivalries. However, if you compare that notion to all of the praise and respect that he's shown JSU history, the current and former JSU and all SWAC coaches, and the people of JSU and the city of Jackson, there's no way that you can say that Coach Sanders isn't invested in Jackson State, Jackson, Mississippi, the SWAC, and all HBCUs. And secondly, I could be wrong on this, but other than discussing his own individual battles with receivers, and we can check the tape and go to online to see, I've never heard Coach Sanders mention college or professional rivalries as a player. That is, I've never heard him say that when he was playing, he really wanted to beat a particular team in college and in pro. So he doesn't seem to be a person who cared about rivalries even as a player. And one last thing I'll add, because I know you got to follow up, is that if you can find it online, there's a very funny story that Coach Sanders tells about something that happened when he was in college. And the Florida State guys were going to get into a fight with the FAMU guys. And he chose not to hook up with his Florida State players and go to their fight. So he's always seemed to be a guy who thought about what's the bigger picture, and that there's no evidence that even as a player, he was concerned about, say, team rivalries. He was only concerned about dominating. And so now as a coach, he seems not to be concerned about team rivalries, but just dominating, if any of that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you think, in fact, that this will be the last one, or do you think they're going to find a way to try to make the money right and salvage this traditional game?
So let me tell you what I hope and what I think.
Okay.
I hope this is the last one.
Oh, okay.
I just gave you my JSU history, right?
Uh-huh.
In all of those years, how many Southern Heritage Classics do you think I've attended?
Probably all of them.
No, one.
Whoa, whoa, okay. Talk to me about that.
Never like that game. You have to remember now, see, and this is where people forget their history. Okay. Jackson State is the only HBCU that has ever led the FCS in attendance. We've done it multiple times and did it once with a losing record. Therefore, that game in Memphis never made sense to me. We always make more money playing at home. And again, this is before Coach Sanders got here. Yeah. I always thought that game should be a home and home. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason why it's not a home and home is because ever since Tennessee State decided they wanted to be in a white conference, they don't make money. Now, I want to say something that's controversial. I'm using it as an analogy, but I see a lot of people don't know how to take analogies. So when you send in your emails and your letters, don't send them the first letter. Send them to CD McInnis as psychedelic lit, because ain't no Kool-Aid pumping through my veins. So I can handle it. So Here's the thing. When Tennessee State decided they wanted to be in a white conference, good. Everybody, Tennessee State, North Carolina A&T, Hampton, all decided they wanted to be in white conference. Good. Every black person, every black institution has a right to do what they want to do. But here's what you're not going to do, brother first. You're not going to move in a white neighborhood and then use me to pay your fees. You're not going to marry your white wife and have me as your black side chick. That ain't going to happen. So the only reason that the folks at Tennessee State mad about it being over is because they don't make any more money anywhere else. Now, I do think they'll turn it around. And I need people to understand, before Tennessee State joined the OVC, they were a powerhouse. So I phrase the question is, if joining the OVC hurt you and didn't help you, then why not join a conference that can be economically lucrative? Unless you think being connected to black folks is somehow a detriment. So if it goes away, it goes away, because again, in the 30-something years of it, I've only gone, and I only went that time because my wife dragged me to go up there. Because, she wanted people like, no, you can't be talking about blue and white and supporting and going up there and this, that, and the other. And plus, you need the experience. You don't, you only travel for work. You need to learn to travel for socialization. And so that's the only reason I've gone. So now, that's what I hope. I hope it goes away, because I don't want to see another 4 home games. I want Jackson State to have 5 or 6 home games to make as much money as we can, right? However, if they say both schools guaranteed to get 1.5 mil, I might be persuaded to say we should stay in that game. But there's no reason that Jackson State should stay in that game for less than $1 million.
That's real. That's real. That's real. That's real. What do you think then was and again, this is coming from the Jackson State standpoint again. Okay, cool. But what do you think was the motivation behind them making that move into that conference?
Oh, we black people. Remember we said black people, only people don't own what we do better than anybody else.
That's one of the realest things you ever said to me.
The other thing is black people, the only people don't know how valuable black people are. So when we went through our, particularly, you know, when we first signed it, so I don't want to put all that because everybody get on me because I put everything bad on the unspeakable coach we had, whose name shall not be rang out, and I'll use rang out as people will know who I'm speaking. We won't ring out his name. This dude was 1-9 as a high school coach. He got a college job. That's all I'm gonna say. 1-9 as a high school, and then okay, I'm digressing. Then had the nerve when he got fired from Jackson State to go around the country telling people he got fired because he was a Christian. No, he got fired because God was letting him take them butt whoopers. That's why he got fired. So if you want to be mad, what he should have been saying is, God, why as a faithful servant you would let me take these butt whoopers for 3 years? But I digress. I'm giving you the question again. I'm sorry because
I was wondering like what was the impetus, what was the motivation behind TSU moving into them folk conference like this?
Was the impetus for them?
Yeah,
that was okay. So a couple of things. FAMU is the only, I think, HBCU that tried to go up to FBS. And they did it, and I'm not going to say it was a bad idea. They had a bad plan. Like, as you know, Brother First, sometimes it's not your idea, it's the execution in your plan. Mm-hmm. FAMU should have waited and stacked their chips, stacked their money, and then gone. But they went, they decided, what they decided to do was buy a new house and then generate enough money to pay for the note, rather than getting the money together for the note and then buying the house, if that makes sense. And that actually, because of doing that, that set FAMU back 20 years. Like, they are just now recovering from that move. That's how bad it messed up there. And I'm being very general about this to any FAMU people. So I don't want to, disparage, because I just wrote this article about me I don't like any HBCU people to disparage other HBCUs. So I just want to be really general about I feel what happened in that. So that was a general movement that a lot of HBCUs were thinking now is the time to go FBS, or now is the time to leave HBCUs, and that those grasses might be greener. What they did not understand, and then this is where a lot of people can be miffed or upset about Coach Sanders' statements, rivalries, for better or for worse, do generate economics. Mm-hmm. The Jackson State Alcorn game is going to always make money. The Jackson State Southern game will always make money. Jackson State Grambling will always make money, right? I was upset at the AD who hired the coach whose name we won't ring out. That AD was such a buffoon. And let me tell you how he's a buffoon. What this AD did, if you a Jackson State person, you mad at what Coach Sanders said about the Tennessee State rivalry, you should be then even madder, more insensitive what this AD did. He is the reason why Valley no longer plays in the vet. And because he wasn't from the culture, this is a black man wasn't from the culture, he didn't understand that Jackson State actually agreed to have that game with Valley in the vet and to split the funds as our way of helping our brothers. That was going to be the biggest money maker, right? And so this AD comes along and asks, well, how come we give half our revenue to Valley? Because they are brother. Because they are family. Mm-hmm. And if you in a house together, Brother First, I went to school with your sister. Mm-hmm. Your sister wasn't going to eat, her little brother wasn't going to eat. Wasn't going to happen that way. So we had an AD who was such a buffoon about our culture at the time that he's the reason, because Valley, when he told Valley, we're not going to split the funds with you, we're going to just treat it like a home game, Valley had no reason. And also, that was also our traditional high school day. Mm-hmm. And high school students a lot of high school students got to come for free. So the game between Jackson State and Valley was a culture game. Mm. right? It was a game in where we tried to let everybody in our culture win. So those are the kind of things. See, rivalries in and of themselves, unless you understand for HBCUs what they represent culturally. So I tell anybody, if you mad at what Coach Sanders said, but you're not mad at that buffoon AD who again hired the coach whose name we're not gonna let ring out from our tongues. There's no way you can be angry at what Coach Sanders said about Tennessee State, and you're not still upset at that buffoon of an AD who destroyed the Jackson State Valley game that we were doing so that our brothers and sisters at Valley could get some cake too.
If we make this move, let's say we make a move to to a Sun Belt or something. Sun Belt comes. Jack State moves to the Sun Belt. All right. Do you think the OGs would be upset if some kind of way we're not able to retain the Alcorn and Southern rivalries on the schedule?
So a couple of things. Right now, with the heat that the Sun Belt has, it probably would make more sense if JSU went to Conference USA, because that's one who would benefit more from us coming right now than the Sun Belt, despite how high we are. Number two, I'm not interested in that at all. Like, I just want to be clear, I'm not interested in us going up at all at this moment, because number one, remember what I said about FAMU, our chips are not ready. And if you look at what just happened this weekend, if we like being objective, none of us are ready. See that, and that's why I think people need to pump their brakes. That a lot of us, see, you've had the privilege of walking on a PWI campus. It's not about them being intellectually better than us, but you've seen the buildings and the things that money can get you. Right. You understand, right? If you have a $10 million budget, you can't compete with somebody with a $30 million budget. It's just not going to happen. Right. And so I'm amazed that so many people are, but again, that's those people who don't really have that history. So I don't even entertain it, because I know financially it's like this. Now, I remember, I'm a muscle car guy. I'm a Mustang guy. So I have the one car that I want. And there's not really anything else that I would want. I'm just not that. But I understand that there's not really any other cars that I may admire that I can get, because I ain't got the chips to go get them just yet. And so rather than discussing that, and then I'm going to answer your ultimate question. What we should be saying to everybody who's saying Jackson State should go FBS, I want you to ask them, do you have season tickets? Because Jackson State going FBS should not come out of anybody's mouth who doesn't have season tickets. Because if you don't have season tickets, you're not invested economically in the benefit and welfare of Jackson State. Now, to your point, yes, if we made any kind of move, and that move didn't include playing games against Alcorn, Southern, Grambling, because you're only gonna get 3 or 4. So it has to be Alcorn, Southern, Grambling, and I would be on the fence about FAMU or Valley, only because FAMU would be the bigger draw, but Valley's our brothers and sisters. So I'd have to make a decision between, do I just want to get the bag playing FAMU, or do I want to do my responsibility of helping my brothers and sisters in playing Valley? So I think that anything Jackson State does that doesn't allow us to play those 4 or 5 teams will be a bad idea, because we'll end up simply doing what Tennessee State, North Carolina A&T, and Hampton has done, which is setting back our programs 20, 30 years.
Do you think Coach understands that the rivalries between Alcorn and Southern are different from TSU? Because this is a young boy again. This your young boy here now. Growing up, I knew playing Tennessee State was something we did annually, but it seemed more like an event. It seemed like some of my sisters gonna always talk about it. They're gonna get their fits. They're gonna go up there. People in my neighborhood gonna go up there. But it wasn't a lot of hatred. It wasn't like with Alcorn, it's people really like these Alcorn people online. Once we smack FAMU, talking about our water crisis, like they bring it up. Okay, that's how much vitriol is there.
Yeah.
Now, last night was a hard hitting game. Seemed like the crowd was intense. Okay, but still, I never got that just heat from a Tennessee State game. Okay,
You are absolutely correct. And here's something that's really interesting. Not really kind of relating to the Coach Sanders situation, but similarly. The rivalry between Jackson State and Tennessee State actually should be more intense because the greatest coach Tennessee State ever had, Big John Merritt, is a Jackson State product. And the greatest coach Jackson State had, W.C. Gordon, is a Tennessee State product. Okay. So you would think that with our two coaches being best coaches, being products of the other two schools, but the moment, what killed the rivalry was the moment Tennessee State went independent and decided they didn't want to be in a HBCU conference. And that really cooled. And like you're right, that it stopped being so much about a football game. And it really became, look, going to that game was no different than going to see Cameo in the Barcades. Like it was essentially, they was going to a concert, right? In fact, the concert on Friday night tended to be a lot better than the game on Saturday. I'm gonna go to a concert and stay the next day for a game. So you are exactly correct that and I think that here's something else I'll say, that not only do I think that he understands it, we can never forget, and this just may be me giving Coach Sanders too much credit, but we can never forget that he says things as much for effect as he does for meaning. And I want to be clear when I say this, that I'm not saying, we all know he means what he says and he says what he means. But I also think that his ultimate vision is for Jackson State to dominate. And that if your goal is to dominate, what often happens is other people tend to be more concerned about you than you tend to be concerned about them, right? And I hate to use, and again, I'm not saying the rivals are not good. Hey, the Lakers and the Celtics, right? The Yankees and the Dodgers, right? But the only reason they were rivalries because they were showing up in the championship every year. See, that's what I think we get rivalries twisted a lot, right? Regional rivalries are good, but the rivalries that we tend to really remember the most, even on the college level and even on the high school level for the most part, are the ones that have championship implications. I'm not saying that neighborhood bragging rights. Let me be clear, brother, first. As a young man who played ball at Cahoma County High School, home of the Red Panthers, yes, I wanted to beat them Cahoma Aggie Tigers every year. I wanted to beat them in football and basketball and in baseball. Matter of fact, I didn't want them to win in marbles or kickball or dodgeball. Anytime them Cahoma Aggie Tigers showed up, for me, it was on and popping because I wanted the Red Panthers to dominate. And unfortunately, they took our lunch in basketball every year. They took our lunch in basketball, but in football and baseball, you understand? They understood what time. So I think that that he understands, but I really think that his statement about we don't care was more about him trying to get his players, the alumni, focused on, if we want to be dominant, there's some business practices, there's some support practices, right? Remember, he said, you're not really a fan or supporter if you only go to classics. That is, if the same number of, and I'll admit, my wife, I go to all the home games. My wife is a much better traveler than I do. Like she, her and her girls get together. They do the girl trip traveling, and I would travel with my cousins. But when all my cousins, got jobs and left the state, that's really when I stopped going to away games. So I'm there for all the home games. But even though I'm guilty, he's right. We can't talk about dominating and doing anything if we're not going to Itabena when we playing Valley. If we're not going to the reservation, right? I made that trip over to Baton Rouge in that stadium where it's like, man, the folks in Baton Rouge can almost reach over and touch the players coming out. When they call it the hole in Grambling, yeah, it's a hole, player. They scooped out something and you walking down into the campus. And I will say this about that. As much as it pains me to say this, Grambling probably has the best on-campus football atmosphere of any HBCU I've attended.
My girl, y'all talk would be happy to hear you say that.
And look, and not only that, brother, first, they got this little shack where they serving food, and them old women in there is talking noise. They said, baby, you want a hamburger to go with this defeat y'all about to take in there? And I said, yes, ma'am. Give me some onions with no mayo on it. I mean, they serving out the food and the trash talk in that little shack where you go get your little concessions from at Grammy. So I think that what we have to remember is Coach Sanders is crazy like a fox.
Mm-hmm.
And he never says anything, right? And I've gotten the chance to talk to Brother Neely. A lot of people don't know that Brother Neely, now we go way back. We used to steal food at Vacation Bible School together. That's how far we go back. One of us used to run interference while the other go get the extra cupcakes. That's the gift. If you're going to make me come to Vacation Bible School, I'm going to get all the cupcakes I can get since I'm here. Right? We're going to talk about the Savior and these cupcakes. That's why I'm here. All right, go ahead with that.
Oh, last question, OG. Last question. Do you think if Coach was at a PWI that he would say that about any of their rivalries?
Because he's a man of his word, he's always, whether you like him or not, he's always seen to be himself, no matter where he is. Mm-hmm. I think about the time when Tony Romo made the joke on air. A defensive back, kind of flailed on a towel. And he said, he looked like me up. and what did Coach Sanders do? What did he do?
He lit that boy up now.
And here's what got me. He began his Romo attack with, I don't like you no way. I mean, look, now I'm gonna ask you first, is not the blackest thing you can hear a black person say. When a black person stop, I don't like you no way.
Right. I've been letting you make it this whole time because I don't like you no way.
See? So if he would do that, I really do think that, because I think ultimately, here is the thing, and again, I can't, as I put in my article, you can't see that moment between between Coach and Travis Hunter.
That was dope. Yeah.
And I think that man is not genuine. He may not be your style of person. He may not run his program the way you want him to run it. He may be a little bit too braggadocious or whatever it is. But when people start talking about this man is not genuine, he doesn't have the interest of his students, right? The fact that we know that he's clear. If the grade's not right, you're not getting on the field. Mm-hmm. He's clear that if you're not taking care of off the field business, you're not going to get on this field. So I do think that, and again, all we have is history. Based on what he's done as a player, as an analyst, as a takedown to Tony Romo, and as a coach of Jackson State, I think that if that's what he meant, he would have said it.
All right, well, I think we covered everything that might come up in the barbershops this weekend. You got something else?
Let me say one other thing, and I'd love to get your take on this. Okay. I think also people gonna have to understand that the portal is going to change a lot of things in how invested a lot of players are in these rivalries. Mm. I think the portal now is going to, just like gone are the days when you have a coach at a place for 30 years. Ain't no more Eddie Robinson walking through that door. Like, it's gonna be very, very rare that somebody stays at a school over 10 years just because of the pressure, just because the ability to move. And so the portal, I hate making this because I'm anti-AAU, and I know there's some good things about AAU. We got to come back on and we talk about why I'm anti-AAU. Okay. But I think the portal is going to have the same effect as what AAU has done, in that a jersey for a lot of young people who go through AAU, a jersey is just something they got to put on to play the game. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you, and I'll leave with this because I had to get used to this. Particularly starting with your generation and younger. Let me tell you something that my generation would never do.
Okay.
We would never wear the hat you were wearing if we weren't Atlanta Braves fans. Mm-hmm. The new generation, it's just about style. It's about the symbolism of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that then comes to the portal that I jump in the portal. Today I may be wearing a Jackson State jersey. I jump in the portal. I may be wearing a Southern jersey. And so if you get mad at the coaches, get ready to understand. These young men who are jumping in and out of the portal, unless they have like an amazing experience at their school, those rivalries are not even going to mean as much to them. And so what we as alumni and fans have to do, if we want those rivalries to mean as much, we need to do it with our money, buy season tickets, and go to. Being on Twitter does not make you a Jackson State supporter. Being on Facebook does not make you a Jackson State supporter. Buying season tickets, donating money to the school. If you're not doing those two things, if you're not buying season tickets and you're not donating money to the school, you are not a Jackson State supporter. That's all I got.
Mm-hmm. Well, you heard it right there from an OG, a former professor at DI Love, a former student there. You know what I'm talking about? Somebody who is a true Tiger fan, and he is my OG. And I hope we covered everything that may be talked about in the barbershop and in alumni group text and everything this weekend pertaining to those comments. I appreciate you, OG Real Talk.
Thank you, brother, always.
One.
Thank you so much for watching my daddy's YouTube channel. Make sure you like, share, and turn on your post notifications. Okay, how do I do it?